Hey MadBad. I know I haven't made daily videos as I initially said that I was going to. I'm also going to be going and getting back into WoW in a bit, which is mainly just what I've been doing recently, World of Warcraft, pretty much 24/7. I've also got a weblog now which talks about my hunter, which I'll put a link to up, so you can go and have a look at that if you want. Although if you don't play WoW yourself, it probably won't make much sense. But anyway, seeing as you sent me a message, and I got that, I'm just going to do a response to what you've basically been saying about Iraq. And to be honest, this is a topic where it's a bit hard to know where to start. And I'll admit, over time, my perspective on Iraq has there have been a couple of changes, basically, as new information has essentially come to light. My initial reaction to Iraq was, and I can remember actually watching Bush Sr.'s speech in 1990 or 91 now, during the first Gulf War. And my attitude then basically was, I think, the same as that of a lot of other people, We need to go in, America needs to go in, or whoever needs to go in and get Saddam and kick his ass, kill him, get rid of him, whatever. I mean, that at the time was my attitude. But then I basically thought about it a little bit. And the problem is, I don't think it's really sort of completely or purely cut and dry. The reason why I say that is because, yes, Saddam was a war criminal, okay, and I'm not gonna try and deny that. I mean, I heard about the gassing of the Kurds, and him making, I think it was mustard or VX gas or whatever it was. And that was really, really bad stuff. And I mean, obviously that had to be stopped. And obviously there had to be some sort of retribution, some sort of justice done about that. So I did think that. But on the other hand, the thing that I found myself eventually realising was, after I'd thought about it for a little while, was that as bad as Saddam was, the problem was that he was actually acting to a degree as a linchpin in the area. He was basically serving to keep a lid on sort of a lot of the stuff basically getting out of control that we're essentially really seeing right now that he's gone. And I mean, the thing is, yes, he was a tyrant, and he was a really, really heavy-handed one. And I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. But the thing is, the three different ethnic or religious groups, the Sunni, the Shia, and the Kurds, that are still there now, they were there when he was at the top of the heap. And, I mean, I didn't agree with his methods at all. And I want to make that very clear that I didn't. But at the same time, I do agree with the idea that in order to keep what was essentially at least a semi-third world country with those sorts of factional differences, in order to keep a company like that together, you would need a very, very firm hand. Now, I am not saying for one moment that justifies nerve gas or any of that sort of stuff. But what I am saying is that it would be very, very difficult, and I think it was very, very difficult to keep a handle on the sort of interfactional conflict that would have been happening in the country even while he was in power. And I mean, we're seeing even now, now that he's gone, we're basically seeing an eruption of the sort of stuff that, as much as I hate to say it, I think to a degree, his style of government actually, to some extent, to some small extent, was able to hold in check. You know, and I mean, now I know people are saying, you know, I mean, as you said, if America pulls out now, there's going to be the Kurds are going to immediately try and establish an independent Kurdistan in the south of the country. Turkey's going to be immediately on top of that because they don't want it. The Shia are probably going to get a whole heap of help and sponsorship from Iran, and they're basically going to say to the Sunni, well, okay guys, we're in charge of the country. If you want to, you know, if you've got a problem with that, let's go, basically. You know, and then you've got Syria, you've got Iran, you've got Saudi, as you said. They're all sort of on the sidelines, and apparently Israel even is very nervous about it. All these other countries are on the sidelines, and they're all sort of, you know, apparently they've all got their own angle in the area. The whole thing is just getting very, very bad. You know, and it's actually interesting because in terms of what I read about, I basically read some perspectives which, I don't know, aren't exactly mainstream, you could say. I'm not even so much talking politically here as much as I'm talking metaphysically, or I guess you could say. And one of the, occasionally that sort of veers into politics. And one of the things that one of the authors that I've read said was that the Middle East is an area basically which, as difficult as the process is, has actually needed someone to go in there and insert a big stick into it, into the middle of it, and stir everything around. And that's needed to happen if there's ever going to be a possibility of positive change there. Now, on the one hand, I relate to that, you know, that things can't just go on as business as usual. And so from that point of view, yeah, it was probably a great thing that Saddam got removed. But on the other, I'm thinking you can look at the sort of chaos that's going on there now, and you can look at the sort of nervousness and tension that's existing between the countries that are around it. It's really scary, you know. And I mean, a lot of these countries, some of these countries, they're nuclear powers. I know Israel at least has a nuclear program, or I've heard that they do. I don't know whether the Saudis themselves do, but I do definitely know that they've got the money that they could get one if they wanted one very quickly, if they don't already have one. So, I don't think there's any easy answer. I really don't think there's any easy answer. On the one hand, you're going to say, yeah, we've got to get America and all the other countries that have currently got expeditionary forces there out, because they're just losing more and more of them by the day to attrition. And I mean, that's basically what happened in Vietnam. You know, I mean, it was just, and this is what my father used to say. Vietnam basically was a war where soldiers were sent into it, but then they were told that they couldn't fight, that they basically just had to stand there. And so because of that, a whole heap of them on a continual basis were killed. I mean, from any sort of strategic perspective, from what I've read about that angle of it as well, Iraq is a disaster. You know, in that sense, it really is. There isn't any easy answer. I mean, they've gone in, they've done it now. Saddam's gone, the government's gone. What calls itself a government there, as some of the more cynical people that I've read about this had said, is basically just another faction. I mean, you've got probably, yeah, about 3 major factions, and they've all got their own administrative apparatus, it seems, and they don't really give a shit about the government of any of the other 3 factions. So, I mean, Alawi, or I don't think it's Alawi now, I don't know who it is, who's in charge in Baghdad. I mean, he can basically think, oh yeah, I'm running the country. But the thing is, if he so far as sticks his nose outside the green zone, he's going to have it shown to him in very concrete terms, basically just how inaccurate, unfortunately, that statement is. There really is no answer. There really isn't, because, yeah, you pull the troops out and it all goes to hell. And any handle that might have on it is going to get lost. And it's just going to... It would just be every man for himself, right? So that's a really, really bad scenario. But on the other hand, there's the proverbial blood and treasure argument that says that there's just so many lives and so much money, not only from America, but also from places like my own country, that are going into it. And yeah, it's a quagmire. There's no easy solution. There's no real way out, because they're in a position now where they're damned if they get out. I mean, the whole area is just going to go up if they get out. But if they stay, then if the Americans stay, then they're going to keep suffering themselves, and the other countries that are still involved there are also going to keep suffering themselves as a result. So yeah, I have no idea really what the solution or the answer is. Anyway, I apologise if that seemed a bit pointless, but yeah, I don't really know what can be done about it one way or the other. I'll talk to you soon.